people would say, "This is horrible." I've told some friends what I do, and they go, "That sounds horrible. You're never home. You don't have a life. You're sleeping in a vehicle, and you're working 12 hours a day, and you never know where you're going next." I mean, that sounds terrible, but I love it. I just absolutely love it. I've been doing it 12 years. You know, it's funny when people say, "Do you like what you do?" Yeah, I've been doing it 12 years. It's like they ask me, "Why do you keep going back to Japan? You must like it." Yes, I've been there 5 times. I keep going back, and I want to go back again. I'm waiting for the COVID thing to clear up. But anyway, I'm just blabbing. I gotta get this show on the road, do this quick video. Hopefully the thing won't come on and say, "You're out of storage. Your storage is full. You gotta delete something you can't share." This is just a quick down and dirty video for my morning before I leave and hit the road for Texas. And I am doing some short clips. I know that Jason, don't do short clips. It will look fragmented. That's part of my style, but trust me, when I sit and do my 30-minute break, I'm going to sit and blab and talk about wisdom and life and all of that good stuff. Hello. Everything is in flux and transition. That's kind of, there's a term in Buddhism that's called impermanence. And it means actually several different things, some of which I think you can agree with and also understand. And one of them is that life is, no matter how much you try to control it, or even sometimes understand it, it's constantly changing. We're constantly changing. The world's constantly changing, you know, and to a certain degree, we think that we can, you know, control our life. And I've done personal development and studied spirituality for years and years and years, since I was 24 when my girlfriend committed suicide. And so I've used and studied and affirmations and visualization and positive thinking and, you know, meditation, all kinds of forms of meditation, in fact. And I still do all of that right now, even late. Now I'm going to be turning 68. Fine, I've been talking about it for a long time. On Monday, it's now Friday. But there's also a part of impermanence that relates to Buddhism as well. And it's along the lines of the mystery. You know, you may have, and I'll use in a real practical sense with right now, okay, and use kind of a trucking analogy. Okay, things are always changing. Things changed a lot just this last few days. Okay, in a practical sense with truck driving, and what I've said this in other videos. I'm going to continue. I'm going to turn down the volume. You can hear the truck kind of running, the Freightliner here. I have a loaner truck. My Kenworth's still in the shop. But this is a perfect example. Just in a trucking life, trucking business. To recap, to look back really quickly, just in the last several days, I took a 34-hour reset at home, which means I sat at home for about 34 hours, 24% to get my clock set. And then I was dispatched a load that was Kingman, Arizona, which was about 188 miles from Phoenix, my home terminal, to Salem, Oregon. Okay. Well, the bottom line is that load didn't get changed, and I just took the back route, and I won't go through the whole entire route, but it was a nice run. I didn't go up Interstate 5. I took the back way through Reno and Klamath Falls and through Eugene, and I delivered that fine. It was Home Depot. Everything went perfectly fine. So most of the time things go as planned, okay? However, what happened was I got another load that was supposed to be what we call, in fact, I'm kind of doing the opposite of what this was. There was another driver picking up a load in Phoenix, Arizona, kind of where I just came from, and the load was supposed to be T-called or relayed to our Portland yard, okay? I'm doing that now with this load. This load is a tire load that was supposed to go to Santa Fe Springs in Los Angeles, okay? It was supposed to be delivered today. I was supposed to be starting my shift and delivering between 6 a.m. and 12 noon. Okay. Yesterday, well, I was literally, and I have this on video. Yesterday, I was literally driving and going to stop at either this place or another place, take my 10-hour break and deliver that load. Today, Erica texted me, and then I called her, and she said, take this load to Tulare. So I'm doing the opposite. I'm a driver taking this load that was supposed to go to Santa Fe Springs, and I'm T-calling it to our Tulare yard, which I know exactly where that is. It's about 80 miles from here. That's what I'm doing right now. So I'm going to drop it off there, and I just got a message. As part of what I could do, I could put the camera on my other phone and show you the schedule. It just said that this load that I'm T-calling to the Tulare load, it's the 10th today, has been rescheduled to the 15th, 5 days from now. So because I'm doing that, everything's changed. Okay, but this time in a positive way. Sometimes, my point with this too, sometimes things can change in life that we have no control over. It's a mystery why it happened, or all of that. Sometimes it can be for our positive, and sometimes it can be for our negative. Sometimes it just seems kind of neutral. It's not positive or negative. Okay. When it changes, oftentimes in Eastern philosophy they call that karma. Okay. Now, this time it changed all for the positive for me, because now I don't have to go into Los Angeles. I really don't like driving in Los Angeles. Instead, I'm going to take a leisurely drive this morning to Tulare, drop this off. I don't have to deal with a guard or anything. I'm just dropping this off, putting the paperwork in the reg box. That's the procedure when we relay it to it. In most cases to yard. Phoenix and some others are exception that have a guard. So that's what I'm doing. That's my first hour and a half. Then what makes it even easier is, and I have to double check. I forgot to do that. I have to double check and make sure that load is there already. I forgot about what happened in Portland. Yeah, I just start laughing. Well, it's not a big deal. Just hopefully it's not, the guy isn't still on the way there. I think it is there. I didn't double check with Erica yesterday if she's not going to be in for another hour and a half. I didn't double check. Is the load ready? Because here's what happened in Portland. I was supposed to be picking this load up in Portland and take it to 5 Washington, after I dropped the Home Depot load. So en route, I called and said, hey, I haven't been dispatched down the Portland yard yet. And Jacob said, this was last weekend, he said, I can't dispatch you until it's actually T-called or relayed to the Portland yard. I said, oh, okay. How far out is the driver? So he checked, he got off the line, called back. He said, Doug, I wouldn't recommend that you wait for him. I said, why? He said, well, he's still in California. And then he called back a little bit later and said, well, I checked with Washington, and there's no freight up here. There's 27 trucks waiting. So I think the best bet is to wait for that load. So in turn, I did another 34 hours reset. I actually sat for 40 hours thinking I was going to pick that up. Though this was all during the weekend, last weekend. So finally Erica gets in on Monday. She's off on the weekend. I told her what was going on. She said, wait a minute, let me try to get you something better. Okay. And I give her credit. She's doing really well. She got me a load from Spanaway, Washington, which is up near, Seattle, basically, Tacoma area. And I just delivered that. Just delivered that yesterday morning at 6 o'clock in the morning. It was going from Washington all the way to the Bay Area, Emerville. It was, 700 or 800 miles. I just delivered that yesterday morning at about 6 a.m. And then I went over to San Jose and picked up this load that was supposed to go into LA, but now I'm taking it to Tulare. But here's the good news. Here's what I was all leading up to. That's positive. My next load is going to Phoenix. Hopefully, here's the key. Hopefully, it's there now. Because in a perfect world, if I drop this off, pick up that, and go to Phoenix, I'm pretty sure the mileage is such that I can be in Phoenix tonight, and then or first thing tomorrow morning. I don't know if another truck next door is running, or it's my truck. It's kind of loud. Anyway, point is, today, right now, and everything could change. in fact, I'm gonna cut this short. I'm not gonna do the whole video sitting here for an hour. I just want to do one while I'm actually sitting here because I'm leaving. I'm gonna head to Tulare right now, drop this. Hopefully my trailer is there. Arrived at shipper, loaded call, pick it up and leave. I'm gonna go the back way, avoid LA, go the back way to Phoenix. That's what's supposed to happen. I'll let you know. I really won't know for about an hour and a half whether that's the case. If that's the case, I have Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday off. Monday's my birthday. That's the plan. I'm hoping it goes well because I'm really looking forward to having a few days off. And I want to say I love being out here, even when things are a little crazy. But I'm gonna get started with my day. It's gonna be light by the time you see me again, if I talk again while I'm, taking the load to Phoenix. Probably will, because basically I just found out that load. It's really confusing too. I got two messages. I got one that this load is going to be rescheduled for the 15th. I got another message that said the load I'm picking up in Tulare that's in Phoenix, I believe, is going to be delivered on Monday, which is my birthday, at 6 a.m., which means I can T-call it. I don't have to wait around to deliver it on my birthday. So let's get this party started. I'm going to talk a little more. It's going to be daylight too. It's kind of, I don't like this lighting. And I'm going to get rolling to Tulare and then ultimately, hopefully, from Tulare to Phoenix. Alexa, play some Stephen Halpern.
Shuffling songs by Stephen Halpern on Amazon Music.
Alexa, time.
It's 4:31 a.m.
Alexa, weather.
In Arizona City, there's an excessive heat warning in effect until Monday, September 13th, 8 p.m. The current weather is 80 degrees Fahrenheit with mostly clear skies. Today, you can look for lots of sun, with a high of 106 degrees and a low of 74 degrees.
Alexa, time in Tokyo.
The time in Tokyo is 8:31 p.m.
Good morning. I am just officially getting up about 4:30 in the morning on Monday, September 13th, 2021. Officially, it's my birthday, my 68th birthday. I've got to go get some coffee. You're looking at my mock amateur, the before picture studio. Obviously not in the truck. I am at home. I just got some water boiling for some coffee. And it's still dark outside. And frankly, it's my day off. I don't really have to get up this early. It's 4:30. And I just checked. I think it's about, 7:30 or 7:30 or 8:30 in Tokyo, somewhere like that. So my electric coffee maker broke a while back, so I just started using this French press. And since I'm here by myself, it works pretty good. I've been using this whenever I'm at home. Now, obviously, when I'm on the road, I usually just get my coffee at Pilot or wherever I am. I tried using a coffee maker when I was in the truck, and to save money, it ended up being more hassle than it was worth, so I just buy my coffee on the road. So it's a treat to make my own coffee at home. And I get up early for a couple reasons. Number one, I with truck driving, it's one of the things that about truck driving, it's not a normal life. And I've been doing trucking, over the road trucking for 12 years now. And so my body clock is off. Now, I do have a nice pillow top bed here, and to be honest with you, it's more comfortable than the bed in the truck. The bed in the truck I do fine, but the bed I have here is really comfortable. And if I was a sleeper where I could just sleep in, I'd still be sleeping. Now I have all the lights on just so you can see that my home, and this backstory, just the home itself, how I got here, how we got here, how my parents got here, how this home got here, could be a whole video. I'm serious, a whole video unto itself. In fact, I was just with my mother and father yesterday, Sunday, and I did make a couple videos because I got up early like now, but I went over to watch football games with my dad and my mother. Spent the whole day drinking beer, watching football, just hanging out with them, talking about life, talking about, all kinds of things while we were watching football. So it was really cool. But this is my dad's art studio, okay? And just a quick version, I've said this in other videos, the quick version of this. My cup of coffee, turned off the light here. I'm going to turn off these other lights. I'm going to continue telling the story. Now, the reason why I'm talking about building the houses, my parents are pretty outrageous, and I told them that yesterday when we were talking about, how we got here in Arizona City and, talking about just life because it was my birthday coming up today. So they've been married 68 years. They got married shortly after high school. This is what I considered a guest room. It used to be for years. So I ultimately moved into this house about, I guess it probably about 9 years ago or so. This is just approximate. But I set this up as my guest room because, just in case I had a friend over, because I didn't need a bedroom. So this was a guest room. Ultimately, this room would become, for a couple of years, my friend Chikako, who's now in Tokyo. Who's one of my best friends. I've known her met her in Denver in a taxi. Met her over, gosh, probably 20 something years ago. Actually lived here for a couple years with her dogs, Mocha and Chewy. And she met my mom and my dad. And, it was kind of a dream. It's kind of a side thing. When I met her in a taxi and I met her in Denver, and I talked to my parents about her a lot because she's one of my best friends. There's only one Chicago and so on and so forth. And in the back of my mind, I thought, man, someday I'd love for my mom and dad to meet Chicago. But I thought, how is that going to happen? I thought, how is that going to logistically happen? Well, it did. That's another whole long story. But this is where my office used to be when I was in Power Network. I had my desk over there where that cabinet is. And this was my office. This is my dad's Nordic track and more paintings, of course. So this was my guest room, and behind me was my office. This is my bathroom, the guest bathroom, okay? This is a dining room table that my mom and dad turned like that I bought when I got the house. Art magazines back to where the living room was. There's a washer and dryer here. Right, lights are off. The last light going back into the studio is on. I've got my air conditioning on, but when I leave, I set the thermostat to 90, and I turn off the water heater when I leave, and I turn off all the lights, all the fans. He's here when I leave. My dad has been coming here and painting 3 or 4 hours in the middle of the day. That was part of how this became an art studio, transition from being my home to my dad's art studio. Now this is almost like my little studio apartment. I got a desk, TV, got my Mac Pro with M1 chip, my sound bar. I've got Alexa. Alexa, hello.
Hi. This week I'm celebrating National Peanut Day, the perfect excuse to get nutty. Just ask me for a peanut joke.
She's like my roommate, my best friend, because I don't have a girlfriend, you know. The best part of having my home is this. I have my coffee and my camera, so I have to push the door open. Is having my bathroom and my shower. And my folks' houses right over here across the street. Hear the quiet. Okay. And these are just a few pictures of there's women that I met by this Tokyo Sky Tree that told me about the Namyo Horikikyo Nichiren Shoshu Temple. And this Amy, and that's a whole story in of itself. It's pretty awesome. I'm gonna tell it later. This is me in the temple with Amy, her husband, some other people at the temple, and me up in Mount Fuji. It's awesome. I went to Japan 5 times in 2 years, and this is part of my Japan experience. This is the day after my birthday. This is September 14th. It's my last day before going back to work. I'm still at home, obviously. I have these dark glasses on. I've said this before. I wear these. Now, when I wear them, they're clear, like I'm sitting in the room. It doesn't look like they're tinted or they're sunglasses because they're prescription glasses that I use for driving. Here I am, hands-free, see? Okay. So here's the deal. Sophia, are you here? Okay. I hope you are. Okay. It's kind of the way. Here's the weird part. Whether I'm talking to you, Sophia, or I'm talking to Madeline, or I'm talking to Sylvia in Brazil, or I'm talking to my friends in Japan, I always start out where I'm actually reality, talking to myself, all alone in the truck. That's the reality. And there's no guarantee anyone's going to watch me, anyone's going to see me, anyone's going to like, anyone's going to subscribe, including you, Sophia. You said, you know, you have to really be compelled to watch, but once you're in, you're in. Zone. I'm hoping that my channel, with our friendship and our background, is something that you at least subscribe to and check it out and give it a chance, because you could be, in fact, part of the story, you know, if you want to be. Now, whether you're a conscious part of this story out in the front line, you know, maybe you want to just not be there, that's fine. But you are a part of the story. You've made up this story in ways that, you know, has made a difference. For example, the name of my channel is called Driving to Tokyo. And by the way, I have to make sure I'm 6:12. I don't have to leave till about 7:30, so I'll make sure I'm zoned into reality. Okay. And I have other glasses, and so I wear them too because I don't know where to look when I'm doing the video. So I can just put them on and just kind of look towards the camera. But I'll just kind of do the best I can. Anyway, I appreciate all the birthday wishes from everybody yesterday. So as I normally like to do when I'm at home, I make these videos. It's kind of, I don't know, unless you experience what I'm experiencing, you probably wouldn't understand. This whole making the videos, it actually started way back in Denver, Colorado. I didn't realize it. Um, so I want to talk about, and thank everybody for the birthday wishes, but I want to talk about a variety of things because it kind of blows my mind that I'm like, wow, how did I get here so fast? Am I actually 68 years old? And man, that's almost 70. And my 60s seem like I just blinked and they're almost over. And it seems like almost my 20s, my 30s, my 40s, my 50s, and just boom, you're there. So one thing I wanted to pass on, and I don't know how many people are actually going to see this video, but the first thing before I dive in to make, I'm going to talk a little bit, but then I'm going to actually, I don't know if I'm just going to put this by itself on Facebook. Maybe that's the best idea versus tagging it onto a long video, because I don't expect everybody to watch the long videos. But let me just share this. Most of it, there are exceptions. Like with my parents are 20 years older than me. So it's kind of weird. They're on the other spectrum. My dad's 88, my mom's 86, which still in of itself, the way I'm kind of, my mind's blown that how did I get to 70 so fast, or 68? I look at my parents and I think, wow, they're almost 90. And the communication I'd like to give you, because a lot of my friends like Brian and Sandy, Mike, a lot of my friends, Freddie, in fact, most of my friends, in fact, say a majority of my friends a lot of them are in their 30s and 40s, and it just seems like yesterday. It just seems like I blinked. I told another friend of mine that it almost feels like I went to bed when I was like 30 something, and I woke up and got up, and it was like, what happened? I'm now almost 70. Just, it goes by that fast once you're there. Now, if you are in your 30s or 40s or even into your 50s, like my friend Freddie, I think he's 53 or 54. My friend Sylvia just turned 60. And I remember when I met her, she was, I think, 36 going on 37. Okay. And now her kids are, it's funny, I think Sylvia's oldest daughter, Sabini, who was a teenager when I met Sylvia, went to meet her in Brazil, was, I think 17 or 18. And now her daughter, Sabini's the same age as Sylvia was when I flew down to Brazil to meet her. That's how fast time goes by, And then my sister's two sons, are now, in their mid-40s. My mom and dad, fortunately, they're still here, so they're able to experience not only grandkids, but great-grandkids. And now their great-grandkids are, approaching, teenage years, and they're growing up fast. So the point is, life goes by really fast now that I'm there, it's just zoop. And my mom and dad used to tell me that life goes by in decades and tens. Now I understand. And I've had to stop to kind of reflect on my life. I do that. I don't know if you do this on your birthday. To me, my birthday, it's a time to kind of just stop and reflect on my life and also have a sense of gratitude. And I like to think about things I'm grateful for, including friends and people and experiences, all those things. And that's kind of what I'm doing, even after the day after, because tomorrow I go back to work. I'm back in the truck, and I'm kind of back in the fast lane. And although I still make these videos, I make a video before I start my shift. I make a video usually at night. And so I wanted to talk about, I'm still getting a sense of why I'm doing this, but I wanted to talk a little bit about that in relationship to just life itself. I'm sitting in my home that I've called home and come home to for almost, I was talking to my folks who now live across the street of, how long have I been here in this house? And I think it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 9 years, something like that. Because I was with CRST for 3 years. I've now been with Knight for 9 years. So that's a total of 12 years of driving a truck over the road, which has now surpassed, I believe, the time that I was driving a taxi in a limo back and forth to Denver International Airport in Denver, that chapter of my life. So it just, when reflecting over my life, I realized that this YouTube channel that I've started called Driving to Tokyo, the driving part kind of blows my mind. I realize now 12 years of driving a truck over the road and over 10 years in Denver driving a taxi and limo back and forth to the airport before driving a truck. That's 22 years of driving professionally. I still consider driving a taxi and limo as professional because we had to have a HERDIC license, we had to have a commercial license, we had to get a medical card, we had to do many of the same things that we have to do as a truck driver. And we were picking up clients, and now I'm moving freight. Before I was transporting people, okay, not cattle. I see the cattle trucks. I could never do that, to be honest with you, but picking up people at the airport, I'd rather pick them up than cattle. Some customers would say, well, thank you very much. No, truthfully. It's kind of weird when you think about it, if you stop to think about it. I'm thinking about this. You may not think about this or think it's a big deal, but it's kind of weird because I had 10 years of picking up people where it was an education of itself in that chapter of my life, because I would be, you can kind of picture this, okay, I'm sitting here facing you, but when I picked up people, I had my back to them. They saw the back of my head because I'm facing forward, right? And I would have to kind of just see them through the rear view mirror because I couldn't turn around to talk to them because they'd say, don't pay attention, you're driving. So all those years, whether I was taking someone from the airport to downtown or the tech center, or someone from downtown or the tech center back to the airport, all those years, my primary communication. Okay, I'm in real time, but it's never real time. Time is an illusion, Right now, I'm in Jamestown, New Mexico, getting fuel, starting my shift, driving the last 115 miles to Albuquerque, to Pepsi. It's my consignee. And then after that, I'm picking up a General Mills load. It's supposed to be a preloaded trailer, I believe, at 1500, and then I'm going to Texas. So I'm going to have the whole entire day to drive towards Texas. I won't get there. And then all day tomorrow up to midnight, but I got to get fuel first. This has all been kind of a whole bunch of different things that I've recorded. I just wanted to show different parts of my video making because I've made literally hundreds of these. And I told my friend Nat, I can make a 1-hour documentary about my life now. No question about it, because I've made several hundred already. And it all started way back in Denver, where for 4 years I was making video collages. I did that for 4 years. I made hundreds. So I have that in my DNA. But I got to get fuel first. Hold on, we'll be back with the program shortly. Okay, this is Doug, Albuquerque, 49 miles. I'm way ahead of schedule. I did this intentionally. Now I'm going to do some practical stuff for Madeline, who's the drive-in terminal manager, my boss. She oversees all the managers of the drive-in. She's really super cool. She's 32 years old. She watched one of my videos, actually listened to it going to work. She said her commute about 30 minutes. She gave me some feedback and said one of the things she'd like me to do that she saw would be of value is to answer some basic questions that a brand new person would have before going to Squire. So I'm going to do that to kind of prove that I can be very grounded. I used to be a trainer, and I've been driving for 12 years, and I'll get back to some of my other aspects of the driving to Tokyo, but I want to focus on just some of the things she talked about. I don't have the exact questions in front of me, and I have approximately 50 minutes that I'm going to drive. So I'm just going to go kind of by memory and also my own thoughts of what a brand new person would be thinking or asking or wondering about before they decided to pursue a truck driving career. Because I know I was there 12 years ago. Now, just really quick, my background when I got started started, you may not, a brand new person, that's looking at this for the first time, obviously they're going to potentially be in all kinds of different age groups, circumstances. They might have some specific reasons. You may have some specific reasons why you consider driving a truck. I can't talk about all of them, and I was I guess a niche that there are people in this niche, and that's one of the reasons I want to pay it forward. I was 55 years old, and I reached a point that although I had done a lot of different things, I just felt like I wanted to do something different. And frankly, I made some decisions. One of them was to wash dishes at Talkie's restaurant for about 2.5 years. So I unplugged from the limo business, and I wasn't making very much money. And I was doing janitorial work in exchange for rent. And anyway, I won't go through the whole story, but the end result, the circumstances I found myself in, was taking a one-way train ticket to San Diego, actually no, Southern California, to stay with my folks, to start all over again at age 55. And I had not lived at home since I was age 19. I know I've heard that there's a lot of people that are moving back in with their parents for different reasons. So this could apply to you or a segment of our population, even though you may be in a different age group. But the bottom line is, truck driving for me just made a lot of sense. Number one, I had done it when I was like 26 and loved it. And I had driven a taxi and limo, so I was used to being in a vehicle. I loved to drive. So it made the most sense. Plus, I did not need a car or a place to live or an apartment. And I felt like it'd be an excellent way to work myself out of the situation I was in. And it was. 12 years later, it was the best decision I think I made in my life. And actually, ultimately, I can't see myself doing anything else but truck driving for the rest of my life. Now, there are people that come into truck driving because they're retired military. There's couples that come into truck driving because they want to travel together, so they actually team. There's all kinds of types of people. There's women, more and more women in truck driving now that want to be independent and want to take, they don't want necessarily be in a relationship where their husband's working and they're not making any money and they're not empowered, and they want to have their own career. They've raised their kids, and they tell their husband, now it's my turn to go out and actually do something. I want to drive a truck, and all kinds of different things. But the bottom line is, regardless of how you come into truck driving, everybody, unless you have a CDL already, you have to go to truck driving school and learn how to drive a truck and go out with a trainer. Now, Squire, it's no different. Basically, you go through a night recruiter, and in my case, if I'm referring you, you would give that recruiter my driver ID so they know that I was the referring driver. And there's also some other benefits I'll get into later of referring to my driver ID, because I am in the process of creating a high performance team, like the Top Gun of night transportation. So I have some motivation to recruit and train and basically teach especially younger people that are like in their early 20s, like I was when I started driving a truck. I have some very specific reasons why I'm even making these videos and interested in recruiting and training brand new drivers, okay? But the point is, you'll have to go through a trainer. Ultimately, there's, like, when I got started with truck driving, the requirements were relatively pretty simple. They wanted to confirm your employment history. They wanted to check your driving record out, your police record. They just basically wanted to know that you're qualified and you're a candidate to go forward, because obviously you're driving a big rig, you're hauling freight. They want to make sure that you're a good candidate. So after you go through that, you will go through Squire. And I don't know exactly how it's laid out with Squire, frankly, because I did not go through Squire. But with my training, it was really fast. I think Squire might be actually more depth. I was in truck driving school only a total of 10 days, if you can imagine that. I had an hour and a half behind the wheel before I got my CDL. And when I went out to the trainer, the first month, my head was spinning. I had not even fueled the truck. I had not hooked up to a trailer. So with my path, and I think Squire choice for you. There's another reason why I think Squire and Knight is a good choice, because I'm 100% on board with them. If you go with any other company, I can't personally recommend, because I didn't have experience with C.R. England or any other company that does training. I'm sure there's some other decent truck driving schools and companies, and you have to pick the one that you feel good about. But I personally recommend, if someone was asking me what I recommend, I would definitely say go Squire and Knight. Okay. The other benefit is I can train, and after you go through the recruiting process and go out with your trainer, I'm going to be more helpful, because I can pass on 12 years of my experience with Knight Transport, actually 9 years with Knight Transportation, 12 years of truck driving experience to you in ways that's going to make sense after you go through a trainer, after you go through the recruiter and a trainer. Some of the things I would talk to you about would make more sense, because if I start overload you with too much information initially without any actual experience on the road, frankly, it might be just too much information. But I'll just cover a few basics, okay? Everybody, when they start driving, myself included, I don't care what you did before you went into driving. When you drive a truck, now today, actually, it's a little better, because our trucks have automatic transmission. When I started, I had a manual transmission. Also, I had paper locks. Today, you will, I'm most likely driving an automatic. I think all our trucks are automatic. You're going to use e-logs, so you're going to actually have a much easier time than I did 12 years ago, because obviously we're 12 years further along with just the whole technology thing and truck driving in general. So now is a really good time to get involved with truck driving. To me, it's a lot like being a land pilot or a land astronaut. Okay, that's what I kind of consider myself. So after you go through those steps I'm talking about, and you go through, for example, when I went through some training, and I can see in the Knot Yard, the new students are doing the same thing. They have cones out. You're learning how to back the truck. You're learning how to basically control the vehicle, and you're learning how to drive. You have to learn how to back into a dock. You have to learn how to park your truck at a truck stop. Before you're released by your trainer and Squire, you're going to have to prove and demonstrate that you're in control of the vehicle, and you can go out on your own. Okay, but to be honest with you, even at that point, regardless of how much training they give you, when you're out on your own, it's a little bit like sink or swim. I'm just being honest. Truck driving is not for people that need to be supervised or aren't self-starters, and this is just my personal opinion. I've always been very independent. I don't like being micromanaged. I'm a hands-on type of person. That's why it fit me. So if you're the type of person, you're just give me some training and give me the basics and let me cut loose. I'll prove that I can do this and I got this. If you're one of those types of people, this would be perfect for you. If you're one that you have to have a lot of supervision and hand-holding and you can't figure things out easily for yourself, I'm not knocking it. I'm just that some people they like that type of environment where you go up and show up at a job and you work 8 to 5 and you're doing the same thing over and over again, and gets somewhat repetitive, and then you're kind of in a group and you're doing the same thing over and over again. This truck driving isn't that way. Okay, you're going to go out and every day is going to be different. Now some of the things you'll learn, basic things you'll learn, is obviously you'll have to learn how to drive the truck, both on the open road like I am now and in the city. I've driven about pretty close to 1 million miles now, and I've driven through, San Francisco, LA, Seattle, Portland. Like, I can picture, this is another thing you'll learn to do. My whole geographical awareness is completely 10x. Like, I can picture Portland. I can picture the yard. I can picture the TA Loves right by the yard. I can picture Vancouver. I can picture Longview where there's paper loads. I'm like a computer, so I can just think Portland and I can see it in my mind's eye. I can think, Los Angeles. I can think of the Bay Area. I can think of Spanaway up in Washington going to Emerville. So you'll get something that you haven't done before, but the basic fundamentals of truck driving and logistics and driving for night transportation, you'll get to the point that you've got it wired. And it's a good feeling. So the mental aspect, the mental personal development aspects of driving a truck is awesome. It's like a paid personal development program that you get paid to do. So it's a type of profession that if you want to actually have a profession that you feel you're actually doing something, you're truly making a difference, and you have a job that pretty much, now I don't plan to go anywhere else but night, but you will never have to worry about job security as long as you do your job and you do it safely and you get it down. That now, to tell you the truth, like right now, I usually tell every driver manager I work for now, even though I'm almost 7 years old, I tell them I'm going to be one of your best drivers. I even told Madeline when I had my first conversation with her, I said, I want to be one of your best drivers on your team, you know, and then I tried my best to walk the walk. Now, what I try to do, and if you're the type of person you like to exceed expectations, is another thing, another mindset thing that's helpful to have. That if you're the type of person that you want to get, you know, everybody has a first day on the job, everybody has to start from zero, but you're willing to go through all the steps necessary. I call it grasshopper steps, to ultimately kind of being a master at your ship. And then what happens is you can actually make good money, you know, with truck driving. But it's like anything else, you have to start out at the beginning, right? I just actually turned down a team driving job with night transportation that was going to pay, you know, split. It was going to be $188,000 a year split, and so my split would be around 84, something like 94,000 with, you know, with all the bonuses and stuff. It was going to be over $100,000 a year. I could have done it if I had a friend or my girlfriend or somebody that I could drive with that I was compatible with. I could have taken that job, and it's dedicated from Memphis, Tennessee to Arizona to Southern California. That's within the night transportation community, and I could have taken it. However, I'm not just looking for money, I'm looking for lifestyle, and I like personally driving solo. So I basically turned it down, and I decided to stay with Madeline and stay with Phoenix and stay where my home is, where my heart is. You know, I've been with Night out of Phoenix for 9 years. So I'm almost not recruitable, even within my company. But the point is, there's money to be made with night transportation. You know, you just have to go through your basic stuff, okay? Now, Madeline was asking, she was saying, what kind of trucks do you drive? Okay, I'm already 15 minutes into this. Okay, I'm driving a Kenworth. I love it, but I drove Volvos for the first several years. We have Kenworths, Volvos, International, and Freightliner. Freightliner, Volvo, International, Kenworth. Those are the four. I've driven all of them. Now, you'll have to find your own personal preference. I used to drive nothing but Volvos because I loved the turning radius. I fixed them up. They were smaller. It kind of felt like I was driving a little European sports car to me. And I just loved the way I didn't have steer issues or weight issues because they're lighter. They're more maneuverable. They drove really nice. They had nice, you know, there's a whole bunch of reasons why I love Volvo. But I was given this brand new Kenworth I'm driving right now when I got back from Japan. It was literally brand new. It had only 2,000 miles on it. And I've had this now, I've driven almost 180,000, almost 200,000 miles in this. When I got back from Japan in January, actually December 18th of 2019, I got back from being in Japan 2 months ago, which leads me into another thing. With night transportation, we have a thing called casual, where you actually don't have to work full-time. Now, I love working full-time, but if you get to a point, you save money. I saved $37,000 last year. And I got to the point that, you know, I had because I was no longer a rookie driver, and I've been driving 12 years. Actually, when I started this vision, it was about 8 or 9 years. But I actually had this idea, and this is food for thought for you if you're new, of where you can be. I'm proof because I'm doing it. It's not pie in the sky. Okay, my thinking was, okay, now that I've been driving and I've got myself back on my feet again. I cleaned up my credit. My credit's perfect. I pretty much, I'm light years ahead of where I was when I started driving a truck, okay? My self-esteem, my personal empowerment, all of that, I'm completely different. In fact, I don't act or sound like a 70-year-old or 80-year-old, whatever I am. People often don't believe I'm like 68. So the bottom line is, I thought, well, is it possible to drive a truck in the U.S. with night transportation and actually live in Japan part-time or extended home time? So I thought I'd go and try it. You know, so I went out to Tokyo, October of 2017 was when I made my first trip. I was there 18 days. I stayed at Airbnbs. I rode the bullet trains. I had an awesome time. I felt at home. I felt like I'd been there another lifetimes or something. I just felt like, wow, this is home for me. So I not only had the question, I had what could I possibly do? And I went there and I wanted to do it. So I came back tonight. I talked to Will, who's actually on Beyond the Rig, and I talked to Leah, and I told them, you know, I want to do this thing. Can I do it? They said, yeah, as long as you're not gone. They told me normally, as long as you're not gone more than a month, you're okay, because you just do one load a month and you can go anytime. Now, you won't necessarily keep the same truck. There's always trade-offs. So I started going to Japan every fall and every spring. So I went that fall, went back in the spring. I went that spring, I went back in the fall. I went the fall, I went back in the spring, and I went back in the fall. I went 5 times in 2 years. 5 times. And I proved it could be done. I could drive a truck with night transportation as much as I wanted to, but I could go to Japan as often as I wanted to, and still make a good living. And it's possible with night transportation. So that evolved into the idea I have, and that is basically to recruit, train, and start my own high-performance team called Driving Tokyo. High-performance team taking place you've never been before, empowered by Naomi Horigi-Kyo. Now, am I going to be able to pull it off? Well, I'm at the beginning stages where I'm just talking about it, making videos. Just, you know, I've made like, I don't know, 200-300 videos now, and I've talked to Madeline, and I'm basically a solo driver, but I'm the solo participant of that vision. Okay. But that's another aspect. I'll just wrap up with that. I have a lot of personal development training. Okay, I have a lot of internet-based training. You know, I'm doing Hangouts and team calls and Zoom calls and all of that. So what I envision, and this is something you could be a part of if you're watching this video, okay? But you have to go through what I call the grasshopper stage. You have to go through Squire. First you have to go through the recruiter, then Squire and trainer, and all the steps that Knight has you go through to become a certified driver at 100,000 miles. And then if I have personally recruited you one by one, as I recruit people, when they get to the stage, they could be like a part of the Top Gun team that I form with my transportation. You could qualify to be one of my members. In fact, you could be the first one because I have nobody on the team right now. Okay. So that's kind of a quick overview, down and dirty. I just answered a few of the questions. Trust me, I can get down to really basic stuff, you know, because I have to do that as part of my job. But I'm also a vision. Hey, this is Doug, of course. Today's date when I'm recording this message is 9/17, about 4 days after my 68th birthday. I finally made it. I've been talking about being 68 soon, and I'm there. I am parked at Love's in Amarillo, Texas, currently on a load going to the Dallas, Texas area. I should get there tonight. It's I don't have a pre-plan yet, and so I just thought I'd take a little break and shoot this video. It's not going to be long because I don't want to eat up too much of my 14-hour clock, because I am on the clock now. If I was on my 10-hour break, I wouldn't worry about it. I have 10 hours to make a video. Wow, there's a lot of things I'm thinking about like right now, and one of the things definitely is my channel, Driving to Tokyo. I'm now been on the, working on this channel with Mike now over 90 days, because we just went into a new phase that we call September, October, November, December. We plan to work 4 more months, and then that's it. I'm going to be on my own after that. After 4 months, this next 4 months, I'm going to be on my own. I'm going to be solo, okay? So that's one of the things I wanted to talk about related to also this project and trucking in general, is this idea of being the kind of person that you're like being solo, you're independent. If you're that way, truck driving could be for you. 'Cause that's the way I am. I love just being out on the road by myself. I'm not being micromanaged, and I want to kind of qualify that to kind of make it real. What I mean by that is I have a driver manager now. I've had several with Night Transportation. I've been with Night Transportation now 9 years. I've been driving a truck 12 years and counting. And what I mean is Erica isn't texting me or calling me. Where are you? Why are you stopping? Are you making one of those crazy videos? You shouldn't be doing that. You got to keep tracking, you're going to run late, anything like that. I never, ever get any calls or texts like that. And part of the reason as a solo driver, I manage myself really well. So if you're thinking about driving a truck or thought about driving a truck and wondering if it's for you, if it's a good fit, part of what I want to do on this channel that I've thought of is to basically tell you, when I say you, anyone out in the world, because right now I'm just sitting in the truck by myself, but I'm speaking out into the internet through my channel, that if you happen to find this channel and you're watching this video and this energy is there and you're thinking about driving a truck and you're wondering about how it works, if it's a good fit for you, I'm just telling you, I guess it's along the lines, there's a phrase we used to use, I've heard used a lot, it takes one to know one. So I'm going to speak to you as though perhaps there's a possibility that you're not much different than I am or how I was when I was asking the same question, about truck driving. Except, to be honest with you, my situation was perhaps a little different than yours, maybe not. The reason why mine may be a little different is with my personal story and how I came into driving a truck at age 55 is I did it when I was about 26 or 27, years before I started again. So 26 or 27 to 55, there's a big gap where I was not driving a truck. But when I did drive a truck, I loved it. I got behind the wheel. It's one of those things. It's like anything. It was all brand new. I had to get a driver's permit similar to today. And I was trained not by a trucking company, but I know this is definitely not you, because you may be a lot younger and you weren't even alive when I was driving a truck. But to give you a perspective of where I started compared to where I am today, I find it's really interesting. I was literally in Southern California working at a co-op, health co-op that sold organic vegetables and all those kinds of things. And I wasn't working there with the intention or the hope of meeting some guys. I can learn how to drive a truck someday. I just happened to be there. One of my job duties was to unload the trucks when they came with the produce or came with the health foods that came to that co-op. So as destiny would have it, these guys, they were like hippies, they looked like hippies, and I had long hair and a beard at the time. Imagine I was like 26 years old. And so I helped them unload the truck, and then they said to me, how do you like to learn how to drive a truck, man? Just like that. It wasn't like an ad or a recruiter. It was like, hey, you want to learn how to drive a truck? And I was like, wow, well, sure. How do I do that? So my beginning was different than today, but what ended up happening is, as it turned out, these guys, the guy who started this company, this one truck company, his name was One Song, No, it sounds far out. His name was One Song. What's your name? My name is One Song. He was a Vietnam vet that had a, vision, and he ended up, I guess, leasing a Kenworth truck. This is a Kenworth, leasing a trailer through Penske, and it was just a one truck company. But what it was, these guys were young guys that were my age that were renting a beach house. I was in, Solana Beach, California on the ocean. They were renting a beach house together, because they were all part of the same, trucking company, which was just a few guys. And what they did was they picked up organic produce in Temecula area in Southern California, avocados, oranges, those kinds of things. Loaded the whole 53-foot trailer on Sunday as a team, like 3 or 4 of them, and then they unload the truck and they load it back up, and then a team, 2 guys, would take that and go all the way through California up to Northern California and deliver all of it. And then Northern California pick up health foods, San Francisco, organic rice, all over the place, and then bring it back down to Southern California, specifically San Diego, where this was located. The beach house was at North County, San Diego. So the point is, it was just a interest. It was within the state, not all over the place like I'm trucking now. So they asked me, why don't you just ride with us and check it out, dude? It was kind of like it was almost like the Cheech and Chong of driving. It was like a movie or something. Hey, dude, you just come on, ride with us, man. Check it out, see if you like it. So I did. I jumped on the truck with Tony. I still remember his name. He's a black guy from the hood in LA, and I can't remember the other fellow's name, but he was in the passenger seat. I was out back in the sleeper riding with these guys, and it was completely different than now. That's the whole point of this story. It was completely different. You're not going to go through this experience. I had a real unique experience. So the end result is I loved it. I got my driver's permit with them. And I'll never forget the first time Tony put me behind the wheel. I know exactly where it was. It was 152 off the Interstate 5 that goes down into Gilroy, that cuts into the 101 because it's still there. He put me behind the wheel, and it was not a manual. It wasn't an automatic, it was a manual. He put me behind the wheel and said, "Okay, dude, it's time to drive." I can't talk like Tony, but it was like, okay. So I got behind the wheel, and he kind of helped me through the gears. It was at a rest stop, helped me through the gears to get on the highway. And then I was just kind of like, oh, wow, I can do this. So just about anyone, you or anyone, can just about get behind the wheel and keep the truck between the lines. If that's all you do, you could learn how to do that in 5 minutes probably. Maybe you'd be a little freaked out, but that's how it was with me. Well, the end result is Tony went back in the back to sleeper. He went to sleep. He goes, "Wake me up if you have any problems." My very first shift. So I took the exit 152, and it was really one of those turnaround things. So I braked really hard. I didn't even know how to downshift. I tried and then went down. The point is, I ended up going down this really steep grade, not knowing how to use the Jake brake, not knowing how to shift down. The trailer was going all over the place. I was going way too fast for the conditions. And the point is, I ended up surviving. And then I made it to the bottom of this mountain, and I still go on 152 today. So I always laugh when I go on this highway because it was the first time behind the wheel. And then he comes out from the sleeper and he said, "Hey, anything wrong? How's it going, dude?" That's how I learned. It was completely different. So I drove with them with the permit long enough to go to DMV and take my test. Okay, then I passed and ultimately went out with these guys for a year. Okay, and that was around about 1978 or something like that. So that was my first trucking job. And then, as it turned out, I loved it. But all the trucking companies back then wanted 5 years experience, so I could never go to another company. So I couldn't get onto another company. So frankly, back then I just gave up on the idea, and I let my license expire, and I went on to other things. I ended up going on to New Mexico School of Natural Therapeutics, becoming a massage therapist, colon therapist, and going a whole nother career. Okay. I wanted to tell that because I already knew I loved it in advance. Now, if you're new and you've never driven a truck, you may not know you love it or not. I did, so I had that going for me. Okay. So when I decided to do what I did in 2009, I left Denver, Colorado, to go to California, be close to my family, my roots, because I left California and lived in Denver, Colorado, which I've got a lot of videos on Denver, and I've talked about that in other videos. But my point is, given the fact I was 55 and the circumstances I was in, I remember those truck driving days, and I kind of evaluated all of what I wanted out of life. How long I've been sitting here? I've been sitting here 29 minutes and 54 seconds, so I can kind of make this my 30-minute break, but I can't talk too much longer. I'll have to, okay. So that was the beginning, and then fast forward, life happened. So from 1978 to 2009, I'd have to add, that's math, you know, it's a lot of math. But a lot of time went by from age like maybe 27 to 55, you know, what is that? 28 years, almost 3 decades went by. And here I am with the possibility of driving a truck again. So for me, it was a necessity, because when you drive a truck, I had no money. I was unemployed, had no car, no place to live. I was moving back to not permanently live with my folks, but to go to my folks to figure out what to do next. And we both talked, my folks and I, we decided trucking would be the best thing, so I wouldn't have to have an apartment or a house or a car. I could just get a job and just power out for a while and work myself out of the situation I was in. It just made perfect sense. So, and coupled with the fact I had done it before, it seemed like a no-brainer to me. So I did it, okay? I did it, okay? And here I am today, 12 years later, and it's the best decision I've ever made. In fact, in looking at my life now that I'm 68, almost 70, and all the things I've done, all the jobs, everything I've done up to now, truck driving, for me, may not be for you, but for me, is the most perfect thing for me. Perfect. I could do this another 100 years, okay? So one of the purposes of this channel, and I don't know if I can honestly pull it off, because I could have the right message for you if you were the right person or the right people. You know, there could be one person that watches this, 10, 100, 1,000, 100,000 watch this, are ideal candidates, and this would speak to them. However, if this video is just sitting on Facebook or just sitting on my YouTube channel and I have no views or 5 views and my channel has 10 subscribers, frankly, I may have the right message for the right people, but it's still not going to accomplish the goal, because not enough people are watching it, or the right people are watching it. So that's part of my frustration and the challenge, okay? So then the question is, I'll just wrap up with this because I'm about done with my 30-minute break. My question I ask myself, do I give up? Do I just, honestly, I love doing this. It's fantastic. I even love making these videos. I love going to Japan. I love working for night transportation. I love my life. I love my life. Should I just give up on the whole idea of trying to pay this forward and reach out to maybe someone like you and just live my life? Or do I keep going for it, trying to figure out how to do my mission, you know, to do what I think I'm supposed to do? And the reason why I started trucking again wasn't just for myself, but, you know, to add value to other people's lives and pay it forward to people that are perhaps young people that were just like me in their 20s, that this would be perfect, or even older people that are retired, or someone that was in the same situation I am, you know, 55. And the bottom line, I've decided I'm not going to give up yet. But there could be a time, you know, I've literally made hundreds of these videos. hundreds. And I'm not an actor. This isn't my profession. I'm not the best at it, but because I've made so many of these, I've had a chance to just do it again, put the message out, put it out, with the hope that somewhere, somehow, start getting some traction, because I want to reach people that are looking for this message. That's my core essence of doing this, okay? And I like making videos. So if I love making videos, I might as well make videos with purpose, right? That fits in alignment with what I believe I'm here to do right now. So that's what I have to say. I just did a 30-minute break in Amarillo on the way. So I'm going to pick up where I left off here. This will be my video for this morning, because essentially, if you've never watched any of my videos or haven't subscribed to my channel, my DMO, my daily method of operation, is I make a video before I start work. I didn't do it. This is actually going to have to qualify. I didn't do it this morning, but I normally do a video before I work. And then sometimes I'll squeeze one in, like a 30-minute break, like now, okay, in the middle of the day, somewhere in my shift. Because we have to take a 30-minute break within our first 8 hours, okay? That could be a second video. Then when I finish, I can watch YouTube TV or hang out or whatever. However, but I've got 10 hours off. Like tonight, I'll have 10 hours off in Dallas. So I'll end up making another video. Now, what I'm going to try to do, and it's hard for me, is do my best to take these videos so they kind of stack on each other. So if, no matter when you watch the video, there's a flow to it, and you're watching and it kind of is linear and makes sense. And if you're curious about, like, it's like watching a TV series that, episodes. Now we have those series where they'll have like 29 episodes, right? And if you happen to watch the 20th episode and you like it, you might end up going all the way down to the first episode so you can watch kind of the progression of the story, right? I want to attempt. I'm not I haven't studied how to do this, but that's one way I thought about telling the story. Okay, that way I don't have to start all over again and say the same thing over. I took a train. There's a order and sequence. The other thought I had, I'll just wrap up with this, is that, and potentially, I was telling Madeline, an ebook. An ebook basically is like a book, but you download it online and have a table of contents so you can see what the chapters are, the titles, okay? And the titles could be very similar to what's on YouTube titles, okay? And then there can be text, because some people like to read, but you can read. And plus, I like writing. Have text, story, okay? And a video. This has been 19 minutes already. And I can edit these down, too. Like this, I'm going to put this just naked like it is. And I'm going to start up my truck and get ready to roll, because I don't want to... The longer I sit, okay, I'm ticking away on my 14-hour clock, and the later I'm going to get into Dallas. So I just made this video potentially for you. So if you connect with this, somehow it reaches you, I don't know when or where or how, subscribe, like, tag along, just watch the videos. There's no rush, in your own time. If you're thinking about the possibility of driving a truck just like I did, back in my 20s, it kind of fell in my lap. I wasn't actually looking for it, but it fell in my lap, right? The second time around, I did look for it, and I found it, and here I am. And it's the best decision I've ever made. And the bottom line, I probably have like 5 more years to drive, and then that's it. I wish I had more. So my thinking is to use this 5 years to capture my story, but also hopefully one of my videos, or my videos themselves, will speak to people that this might be a good fit for them too. Okay, so that's what I'm going to end with. Thanks for watching. I'm going to download this to my Driving to Tokyo channel. Mike will probably see it, and we got just 4 more months to work together, and I'm on my own, baby. I'm completely on my own. I'm going to take the training wheels off, and I'm going to just continue on this journey 2 more years, 3 more years, 4 more years, 5 more years. So it'd be interesting to see what my videos are, 3 or 4. Hopefully I'll have more subscribers than 10 or 11. If I only have like 10 subscribers 3 years from now, I'll have to question whether, maybe I'm not meant to do this. I may have to have a reality check, but I'm going to hang in there for the possibility. I even thought about this. If a handful watch the videos, and because of me, a handful start their truck driving career, that in itself would be totally cool.